a video for world history class about resistance to imperialism in India, Ethiopia, and China. India. The 7 Years' War, which Britain won in 1793, made the French leave India. The Mughal Empire was weak, and the Britain East India Company used forces of British soldiers protecting the Britain East India Company workers to slowly move inland into India. While doing this, they were also recruiting native Indians to join the British colonial army. These sepoys made up the majority of British forces in India. The British did not know the unrest that had been created by their growth over their control over most of India. In 1857, the sepoys believed that their rifle cartridges had been greased with either cow or pig fat. Hindus viewed the cow as sacred, and Muslims refused to slaughter pigs. The sepoys saw this as the British trying to convert them to Christianity. And then a sepoy mutiny happened, in which the rebellion grew rapidly across northern India, and the sepoys attacked against the British officials and settlers. The British response was to attack back forcefully, and caused the deaths of thousands of Indian soldiers. The Mughal Emperor was imprisoned and exiled. From then, which was 1858, to when India got its independence in 1947, the British Raj was in control of the Indian government. Ethiopia. After the Berlin Conference, which was essentially European countries splitting up the continent of Africa on a map for themselves to go and conquer, with no regard for how this would impact the native communities, there was one country that was able to resist this imperialism: Ethiopia. With their reforming emperor, Menelik II, when Menelik was rising in power as emperor, Italians began supplying them with arms, waiting until Menelik would give his power to the Italians. During this time, Menelik acquired an army of about 100,000 people and resisted the Italians, who declared that Ethiopia was under Italian control. On March 1st, 1896, the Italians, led by General Oreste Barataeri, invaded Ethiopia from Eritrea. Menelik, ready for an attack, defeated the invading Italians at the Battle of Adwa. The Battle of Adwa marked the first time that a European country had been defeated by an African army. Menelik later hired people to make more modern roads, a Western school system, bank system, postal system, electricity, and telephone services. Menelik was the emperor of Ethiopia until his death in 1913, and because of him, Ethiopia was able to keep its independence during the age of imperialism. China. After the First Opium War, which was the Chinese government trying to stop the importing of opium, the Chinese lost and were forced to open up 11 treaty posts. Western nations tried to make China into spheres of influence, but with the open door policy, all nations were allowed to trade with China. A secret society, called by Westerners as the Boxers, opposed foreigners in the country. Supported by the Manchu government, they wanted to make China go back to isolation and make the foreigners leave. The Southern Chinese protected the foreigners and the Christians. In June of 1900, the Boxer Rebellion attacked foreigners and Christians and the foreign embassies in Beijing. Britain sent a force of 25,000 troops, which quickly crushed the rebellion. This rebellion didn't achieve its main goals, but it did make the Chinese know that reforms were necessary. Revolutions broke out across China, and eventually overthrew the Manchu emperor. Dr. Sun Yat-sen made China a republic, a more Western industrial and agricultural methods, and freed China from imperial control. And those were just three: India, Ethiopia, and China, all their ways of resisting British imperialism. Thank you.